justice, and equality. And I am so thrilled to see all of you here today, Westside members, friends, and visitors that we have not had a chance to see in person for many months, and we're back live at 901 Page Avenue this morning. I'm glad you came today, and it's my hope that you will find something here that nourishes your heart, feeds your mind, and grows your spirit. To all of you who are joining us out there on Facebook Live this morning, welcome. Keep an eye out for our weekly email for updates on our ongoing reopening and next services each week, as well as how to access our service online each week. And my name is Carol Kappa, and I'm the worship associate this morning. Be you a spiritual seeker, an atheist, or a theist, whether you find inspiration in the great books or the great outdoors or great conversations, all of you are welcome in our inclusive congregation. So to newcomers and old friends both, together we say, welcome. A special thanks to our volunteers and staff this morning, our AV team, Jeff Rodriguez and Sue Anderson and Amy Stubbs, pastoral care associate, myself, yours truly, social justice rep, Cindy Fountain, as well as our director of lifespan religious education, Nikki Kennedy, pianist, Dr. Yuki Kumamoto, and sexton Jean McKeon, and of course our office administrator, Dawn McGee. As most of you are aware, our board made a tough but necessary decision to close in-person services for at least the month of January and into this month of February. Tarrant County was once again under extremely high risk conditions for the spread of COVID-19. But now the numbers have come down, and we are so happy that we can again meet here in Westside in person. Our speaker in the virtual pulpit today is Laura Solomon, and she will be speaking on Widening the Circle of Concern, a report from the UUA. Laura is no stranger to speaking here to us at Westside, but for those of you who will be hearing her for the first time, Laura is a recent graduate of Meadville Lombard Theological School. She is currently serving as the Director of Spiritual Growth at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Silver Spring, Maryland. Laura lives in Sykesville, Maryland, with her dog Maisel Rue and her rats Ginsburg and Nova. Now, please make yourselves comfortable during the service. You may sit, stand, rock, wiggle, or be quiet as a church mouse. But virtually gather close as we listen to this morning's prelude, written lyrics and music by Stan Yoder.
Welcome, friend and traveler, into Westside's happy halls. Would you be a knot unraveler while compassion's duty calls? Here we work to do our part. Here we value head and heart. Free and truthful search for meaning. Here we honor each one's quest. We respect without demeaning, all aspiring to their best. May your presence bring you cheer. May your talents dovetail here.
Thank you, Stan. Very, very wonderful. Our opening words are written by the Reverend Dr. David Breeden, Senior Minister at First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis, Minnesota, called Into the Circle. We gather into this circle of care, to dream, to envision, to embody and achieve. the compassion we dream, the justice we envision, the dignity of each in an ever-growing circle of love and justice. A flame within a chalice, a cup with a stem and foot, represents the Unitarian Universalist Association, or UUA, and is a symbol of the Unitarian Universalist faith. At this time, I invite Westside member Glenda Hood to light our chalice here this morning. The flaming chalice is a symbol of both the heritage of our past and the light of hope within this church today. If you have a chalice with you at home, please light it with me.
Our chalice words, open to the unexpected answers, come from Reverend Julian Leap, lifespan minister for the UU congregation of Eau Claire, Wisconsin. We seek our place in the world and the answers to our heart's deep questions. As we seek, may our hearts be open to unexpected answers. May the light of our chalice remind us that this is a community of warmth, of wisdom, and welcoming of multiple truths.
Please join in singing our chalice lighting song this morning, number 396 in the gray hymnal, I Know This Rose Will Open. Be sure to continue wearing your mask while singing with us this morning. Please rise as you are able and join in singing our opening hymn this morning, number 360 in the gray hymnal, Here We Have Gathered.
Here we have gathered side by side, circle of kinship, come and step inside. May all who seek here find a kindly word. May all who speak here feel they have been heard. Sing now together.
please remain as you are and join me in reciting our affirmation, which is printed in your order of service and projected on the screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. You may be seated. And now, our time for all ages today will be presented by Caroline Nixon. If you want a closer look, please come on up here to the front and join Caroline at this time.
Good morning. So there are some pretty clever pictures in my book that I'm going to read to you this morning that you kind of have to be up here to see, unless they zoom in, but my guess is no. So you don't have to be young at heart to come up here and sit with Sophia and Cadence. You can be old at heart and like stories. So I'm going to read to you today a story called The Cool Bean. It was written by Jory John and Pete Oswald. There's some cool beans.
Do not break my book. That's my book.
Okay, and this is Cadence's book, not my book. I may have bought it for her, but it's her book. She says don't break it. Watch out, here come the cool beans. The cool beans. It says Beanside Elementary School, home of the pods. Oh yeah, check out how they move. Look at the way they swagger. Notice their sunglasses. Yow. The cool beans are known all over school, from house to house, across town, beyond county lines. In the olden days, last year, we were all one big pot of beans. We were a mixed bag, but somehow it worked. Yep, those were the good old days. And then we stopped seeing each other as much. That's just how it is sometimes. You spend less time together, even though you're not totally sure why. I watched as the beans I knew so well, the beans from my own pod, became the cool beans. Oh, they were so cool. One of them could play the guitar cool. One of them could draw the best superheroes cool. One of them could jump higher than any bean I'd ever known cool. Having technical issues here. Sorry about that. I got a lot of wires. Okay. I was still picked last for everything. Oh, wait, I skipped a page. I am so sorry. Me? Well, I mostly stayed the same. Sure, I made some small changes. I wore sunglasses, too big. I slicked my hair back, too slick. I strutted around. I swaggered. Oof. I was still picked last for everything. My clothes never seemed to fit. I snorted when I laughed. I walked into stuff. I was an uncool bean for sure. I started thinking of myself as just a common bean with no special skills. I couldn't compete, so I didn't try. I'd never be a cool bean. It seemed like there were two types of beans in the world. There were the cool beans. This is Laguna Beach. And the beans like me. This is SPF 200. The days all blended together. I lived my life and things were just okay. I took tests and I ate lunches and mostly kept to myself. The cool beans continued to be cool. I mean, sure, I missed them a bit. It's not like I was going to say anything. I felt like all that coolness had gotten in the way of our friendship. And that's how it went. And that's how it went. It's still on. There we go. Until one day, I was in the cafeteria. I dropped my lunch on my loafers. Oh no, not again. But then something sort of miraculous happened. Out of nowhere, one of the cool beans helped me clean it up. He didn't even say anything. He just gave me a nod. That's it. Later, I was out on the playground. I tripped and scraped my knee and maybe cried a little bit, and everybody saw it. Another one of the cool beans came to my side and, without a word, dusted me off. There's a package of beandages. That afternoon, I was sitting in class. I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't notice, but our teacher had called on me. Everybody stared. I sat there in silence. Nobody said anything. And then, everybody just laughed at me. That was it. After today, I was officially a has-been. But then, one of the cool beans stood up and came over to me. Everybody watched. She leaned in close and she whispered, "Hey, the teacher asked you to read from page 32. Then she gave me a quick wink and went back to her seat. It was a small gesture, sure, but it was also everything. I walked home with a goofy smile on my face. I smiled all the way through dinner. That day made all the difference. It was a day that could have been really bad, if not for the kindness of a few cool beans. It gave me a shred of confidence. That shred of confidence has continued to grow. Somebody had my back, or a few somebodies. After that, I started hanging out with the cool beans again. How have you been? Get it? How have you been? Not all the time, but sometimes. At lunch, after school, even on the weekends. Throughout all of this, I realized that it's not about how you look or any of that other silly stuff. It's about a wink or a nod or a smile at just the right time. It's about dusting somebody off, helping them up again, and pointing them in the right direction. You need a hand? Yes, please. Now that's cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Great story. Well, good morning. I'm your pastoral care representative this morning. And in our community here at Westside, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. And we do this because each person in this community has value. Each person's experience matters. We would like you to please submit your joys and concerns to our team by emailing us at pastoralcare@westsideu.org, or you can contact any member of the team. The team consists of Chair Brenda McKeon, myself, Carol Kappa, Diane Dixon, Kim Lucas Hart, Melissa Trask, and Dana Tooley. Or when you come here to the church right outside the door, there's some pink slips of paper that you're welcome to leave your joy or concern for us. We share our concerns and sorrows with one another today, knowing that concerns and sorrows come into each person's life, knowing that together we offer comfort. We also share our joys with one another, knowing, too, that joy comes into all our lives, knowing that together our voices can rise in a chorus of celebration. And today we have two joys. The first one is from Caroline Nixon, and she says, "I'm feeling grateful for all the individuals who have gone through health challenges before us that have led to our health care being less painful and more accurate. Some of us are struggling right now, but I'm hopeful that the suffering will be shorter and the relief will be quicker with the love of this community that surrounds us." And also, we have a joy from Nurse Kim. She says, "In honor of Black History Month, our intern office administrator, Don McGee, has donated 3 copies of the children's book titled The True Story of the Grandmother of Juneteenth, Opal Lee. This is the story of Fort Worth's very own Opal Lee, who walked across America for several years, gathering signatures to petition the U.S. Congress to make Juneteenth a national holiday to commemorate the end of American slavery. This holiday finally was signed into law on June 15th, 2021 by President Biden. Many thanks, Don, for the books." Not every joy or concern can be shared openly in the community, but some must be shared eye to eye or simply held in the heart. We further recognize that some do not have voices with which to speak the depth of their pain or the height of their celebration. And we make space each week for musical centering, knowing the life and experience of every person matters, and together our lights shine brighter. So as we hold all the joys and concerns among us, both those spoken and unspoken, let us center to number 391 in the gray hymnal, Voice Still and Small.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
I invite you to join me in a time of centering. Each week here at Westside, we open our hearts to those in our community who know both joys and challenges, and to all suffering beings. I will begin with a meditation on compassion before we move into a time for silent reflection. I will sound the bell to signal the start of the time for your own meditation, prayer, or reflection, and I will sound it again at the end. This meditation on compassion is from Jack Cornfield with a little editing for our congregation. May you be held in compassion. To cultivate compassion, let yourself sit in a centered and quiet way. In this traditional form of practice, you will combine a repeated inner intention with visualization and the evocation of the feeling of compassion. As you first sit, breathe softly and feel your body, your heartbeat, the life within you. Feel how you treasure your own life, how you guard yourself in the face of your sorrows. Now bring to mind someone close to you whom you dearly love. Picture them and feel your natural caring for them. Notice how you hold them in your heart. Then let yourself be aware of their measure of sorrows, their suffering in life. Feel how your heart opens to wish them well, to extend comfort, to share in their pain and meet it with compassion. This is the natural response of the heart. And you can extend this person these phrases. May you be held in compassion. May your pain and sorrow be eased. May your heart be at peace. Imagine that they turn their compassionate gaze back to you and acknowledge the measure of sorrows that you carry. They say to you with tenderness the same phrases. May you be held in compassion. May your pain and sorrow be eased. May you be at peace. Begin to extend compassion to others you know, perhaps beginning with the circle closest to you, your family and friends. Then imagine the circle widening to hold the friends of your friends, the family of your friends. Imagine the circle widening and widening until it encompasses the whole earth with all living beings. Holding this circle in mind, extend your compassion, knowing it will travel from being to being through all the widening circles. May you be held in compassion. May your pain and sorrow be eased. May your heart be at peace. Stay with your tender-hearted connection with all of life and its creatures. Relax and be gentle. Breathe. Let your breath and heart rest naturally as a center of compassion in the midst of the world. May it be so, blessed be, and amen.
The purpose of the church is to encourage all who gather here to grow more generous in spirit and action. This is the great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. In the spirit of generosity, Westside chooses to reach out to our wider community. We now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will support this self-supporting church and its ministries. Our plate offering for February will go to Journey Forward. Journey Forward is a nonprofit organization founded by Kathy Taylor, a lifelong DFW resident. In 2013, Kathy's 27-year-old son, Corey, was shot and killed. Finding it difficult to navigate the criminal justice system and unable to find resources to help her and her family cope with this loss, she started Journey Forward. Journey Forward serves the DFW area by providing resources and counseling for victims of gun violence and other forms of violence to support them through their trauma. The group helps victims process their grief with free trauma-informed counseling. EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy, support groups, and help navigating the criminal justice system. Journey Forward provides outreach through its educational curriculum in partnership with schools, churches, and community youth programs. This workshop teaches leadership through nonviolent intervention to youth experiencing and coping with gun violence. It provides education regarding gun violence to the wider community and advocates for common sense gun legislation. And now the gifts of this congregation will be most gratefully received through the Vanco mobile app, our church website, or a check by mail. Please enjoy this musical offering performed by Tricia Bode.
Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone.
Thank you, Tricia and Yuki. That was very beautiful. And Westside, thank you for putting into practice the spiritual virtue of generosity. Our giving connects us to the wider web of community. And now, our reflection will be given today by Reverend Laura Solomon.
Good morning, Westside UU. It is so good to be here with you again this morning. In 2017, at the New Orleans General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association, the UUA, the UUA's Board of Trustees chartered the Commission on Institutional Change. Their charge was to conduct an audit of the power structures and analyze systemic racism and white supremacy culture within the Unitarian Universalist Association. The commission set out not only to listen deeply to the stories of people of color in our denomination, but to center the stories, experiences, needs, and identities of those who are marginalized. I think of this as being like taking a photograph. When I choose a particular aspect as the subject or the focal point, everything else blurs and fades out of view. But I can choose any other focal point. I can choose any other place to center my photo such that what was background comes to the center and what was centered fades to the back. By centering the experiences of Black people, Indigenous people, and people of color, we are choosing a different focal point in our picture, which allows an entirely different paradigm to come into focus. The report says, by centering, we mean a leaning toward, a prioritizing of perspective, providing attention to whose needs are considered and who is most affected. Just as we can understand that the current paradigm of white dominance centers white identity and the comfort of white identified people, we can also understand that a more just and effective system would center the comfort, safety, growth, agency, and capacity for self-realization of those who are currently most oppressed, which would have a benefit for all. The Commission's work culminated in a report entitled Widening the Circle of Concern. I highly recommend reading and engaging with this report. One sermon on this topic isn't nearly enough to even begin to dive into the depth and breadth of information and recommendations compiled by the Commission. I realize that I am a theology nerd. I think a person can't get through seminary if they aren't into theology and also generally kind of nerdy. I first attended a UU congregation when I was 12, and although I bounced around a bit after that, Unitarian Universalism had very quickly made its way into my heart as my true religion love. I love our living, changing, adapting, growing tradition to which we are bound not by dogma or creed, but by covenantal relationship with one another. Ours is a tradition whose historical roots emphasize both freedom and commitment. It is often difficult for Unitarian Universalists to articulate what they believe individually and what binds us together collectively. The report emphasizes that justice work is often what we identify as drawing us together. The authors argue that justice work cannot serve as a proxy for what we believe. Rather, they state that our justice work, without theological resources and spiritual practices, leads us down the path of burnout. It cannot be only our justice work that is binding us together. There must be a deeper, articulated theology behind our justice work that is feeding us, joining us in community and in relationship with the world. We need that theology to sustain us when times get hard. A deeper exploration of our theology, then, is essential to transforming the UUA and our congregations into organizations that are just, equitable, and even liberatory. The authors of the report recommend particularly that we re-engage with our theological history, reinterpret that history in liberatory ways, and articulate our commitment to affirming and welcoming those who are marginalized. They state that acknowledgement of anti-oppression work as a theological mandate is essential, and that a focus on our covenantal relationship is what will lead us to the real work of deep theology and liberation. But it's not just our theology that needs this deeper reflection to move us closer to transformation. Our polity and the inner workings of our congregations must also be closely examined. We need to continue engaging with this work of dismantling white supremacy culture within our congregations and our denomination if we are to survive. In keeping with trends throughout the United States, attendance in Unitarian Universalist churches continues to decline, and families and individuals are looking for something different from church than they did in the past. Many of our congregations are in trouble with decreased membership and fiscal support. However, multicultural congregations are on the rise, and adults are generally looking for congregations with practices of equity, inclusion, and diversity that many of our congregations are lacking. The report states it is urgent that we recognize that those among the newer generations and marginalized identities represented in Unitarian Universalism have begun to lose hope that our congregations will ever choose to change. Think about the leadership and relationship and voice and power of people of color who have already left Unitarian Universalism because it was not a safe place for them to exist. When I think about this, I am worried for the future of our faith. However, Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore writes, our congregationalism gives authority and responsibility to each member of our congregations and communities, and it is a proclamation of their worth and dignity. It says you are needed, you are valuable, you are central to the process of making a Unitarian Universalist community. There is nothing unless you make it. The way our faith works when we are at our best is by affirming and promoting our interconnected web, by affirming and promoting the inherent worth and dignity of each of us. Our faith is one with liberation and justice at its center. We must draw the circle wide enough to include all of us, and we must do so by shifting the center of the circle. By moving the center to the voices, experiences, wisdom, and lives of people who are marginalized, we are able to relegate the system of harm that is white supremacy culture to the margins. By centering voices that have too long been on the outside, we are able to create a culture that will not only feed all of us, but will also lead us into a more sustainable future. It will deepen our theology and renew our understanding of and commitment to our faith. I believe those of us who are white want to do this work well. We are striving to see the systems of privilege and oppression around us that we have not had to see because the color of our skin allows us to move through that system unharmed. I hope if you are a Black Unitarian Universalist that you know about Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, often referred to as BLUU, B-L-U-U. And if you are Black, Indigenous, or a person of color in Unitarian Universalism, that you know about DRUM, D-R-U-U-M-M, Diverse and Revolutionary Unitarian Universalist Multicultural Ministries. Both organizations provide opportunities for connection, relationship, processing, theology, action, and more. If you are a person of color and would like to be hooked up with one of these organizations, I'm certain Nikki could help you with this, or reach out to me and I would be happy to get you connected. After George Floyd was killed, I watched the Sunday service from the First Universalist Church of Minneapolis, the city where George Floyd lived. What struck me most about the service was their time for the congregation's children. The religious educator Lauren Wyeth started by saying, "This congregation is a place where we promise to speak the truth in love. And sometimes the truth we have to speak about is very sad and very complicated or scary or unfair. But we speak the truth in love anyway, because the truth will set us free. She proceeded to tell the children in plain and simple language the ugly, hard, and devastating truth. She talked about what we knew about George Floyd as a person, and she told them directly and unflinchingly how he died. She spoke simply about the need for all people to be able to trust our community helpers. She suggested that they remember George by creating sacred space in their homes through lighting candles and having a picture of him. She says they might be having feelings and thoughts about what's happening in their city and about George Floyd's death. Whenever you have questions about it, she says, you can ask us, and we promise to speak the truth in love. She ends by saying, and I promise you this. We adults will work as hard as we can to fix these problems. By taking care of ourselves, by taking care of you, by keeping our hearts open even when they're broken. By lifting up the voices of our wise Black leaders and listening for what love is asking us to do. We love you so much, and our love for you is why we're so determined to build a better world. I think so much can be answered more clearly if we boil it down to the question, what will we tell the children? What is the Unitarian Universalism we want them to know? What of our faith do we need to change to leave them a better generation of Unitarian Universalism than we inherited? What will we tell the children about our faith? We will tell them that we will take care of ourselves. We will take care of each other. We will center the voices of our Black leaders, Indigenous leaders, and other leaders of color and listen for what love is asking us to do. The authors of the report wrote, if this report is received as nothing more than a document, that will be a travesty and a fresh source of injury to all who participated in offering and compiling the wisdom found here. So what will we do? How will we change the legacy of our faith? What will we tell the children we did in years to come when we heard of harm within our faith? We will continue to speak the truth in love, to ourselves, to each other, to the children, and to the world. Even the hard truths, even the uneasy truths with answers we have not yet lived into, even the devastating truths that we still lack the courage or creativity or moral imagination as yet to change. We will listen. And together, in beloved community, we will draw the circle wide. We will center the margins. And we will act ourselves more fully into new ways of being. May it be so.
And now please rise as you are able and join in singing our closing hymn number 298, Wake Now My Senses. We'll sing verses 1, 2, and 3 only.
Keep with the web of
Words today come from Reverend Kimberly Quinn Johnson, titled Fitted for This Day. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are not perfect, but we are perfectly fitted for this day. We are not without fault, but we can be honest to face our past as we chart a new future. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. May we have faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Those are the words of June Jordan in Poem for South African Women, which she presented at the UN on August 9th, 1978. The flame is extinguished, but not our hope for the future, our courage in the face of crisis, or the love we share in all the world. Join me now in the congregational closing printed in your bulletin or presented on the screen. Let us go in peace, believe in peace, and create peace in our lives and in the world. That ends our formal service, but we have another opportunity to be in community with one another. Join our virtual coffee hour on Zoom until 12:30 this afternoon. The link is in the email sent this morning from Westside UU Church. And if you're not on our mailing list, please visit westsideuu.org and sign up by clicking the link at the very bottom of the homepage. Blessed be, and may it be so.